The voice on the other end wasn't his wife's. It was a cold, efficient voice. A doctor. "Mr. Thorne, your wife is in critical condition. She's asking for you." But CEO Marcus Thorne didn't look up from the $30 billion acquisition papers. He pressed ignore. He pressed it again. And again. He was signing a deal to cement his legacy, not realizing that in the same hospital, 8 blocks away, his pregnant wife, Olivia, was taking her last breaths, until the hand of his most hated enemy, Damian Blackwood, reached out and pulled her back. The penthouse on Fifth Avenue was silent, save for the sterile hum of the air purifier. It was a silence Olivia Thorne had come to dread. It was the sound of being alone in a crowd of priceless objects. At 36 weeks pregnant with twins, Olivia felt less like a person and more like another one of her husband's acquisitions. A beautiful, fragile thing, displayed perfectly, but never truly touched. Her husband, Marcus Thorne, CEO of Thorne Industries, was a man who didn't just command a room, he owned the air in it. His photograph was on the cover of Forbes this month, his steely blue eyes staring out under the headline, "The Manhattan Goliath." And in this moment, he was in their cavernous, minimalist living room, his back to her. "Marcus," Olivia said, her voice soft, hesitant. She was standing by the doorway, one hand on her swollen belly, the other gripping the doorframe. A sharp, searing pain had just shot down her back, the third one in an hour. "Marcus, I don't feel well. The doctor said to call if the pains were less than 15 minutes apart." Marcus didn't turn. He was on a conference call, his $5,000 Brioni suit uncreased, his focus absolute. He held up a single imperious finger. "Wait." The pain subsided, replaced by a cold dread. This was the most important week of Marcus's life, he had told her. This was the Blackwood takedown. For 5 years, Marcus had been in a corporate war with Damian V. Blackwood, the younger, sharper, and, to Marcus's infinite rage, more respected CEO of Blackwood Capital. Marcus saw business as a battlefield. Damian saw it as a chess game. Now, Marcus was attempting a hostile takeover of a subsidiary Damian prized. The final negotiations were tomorrow. "I'm going to need the full board presentation by 5 a.m., Peterson," Marcus snapped into his phone. "I don't care if you have to rebuild the model from scratch. Make it happen." He clicked off the call and finally turned to her. His eyes didn't soften. They assessed. "What is it, Olivia? You look pale. The investors' dinner is tonight. You can't be unwell." "I need you there. It shows stability." "I don't think I can go, Marcus," she whispered. The pain was coming back, wrapping around her abdomen like a steel band. It feels different. It's too early. I'm scared." Marcus sighed, a sound of profound irritation. "Olivia, you're always scared. You're pregnant. You're uncomfortable. I get it. But this is not the time for drama. Dr. Henderson assured me you were fine just last week. She said I was high risk and needed 0 stress. That's what she said." "And what part of this?" He gestured around the multi-million-dollar apartment. "Is stressful. You have a chef, a driver, a doula on call. You have everything. I am trying to secure our future, our children's future, and you're having a panic attack over a backache." "It's not a backache," she cried out, as a wave of pain so intense it buckled her knees. She grabbed the back of a marble console. "Oh God, Marcus, please, call the doctor." He looked at his watch. A Patek Philippe. It was 7:04 p.m. "I have a prep call in 6 minutes," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "You're fine. Your doula, Maria, is on her way. She'll be here by 8. She can rub your back or whatever it is she does. I have to go to the office. The office? Now? The Blackwood deal, Olivia. Pay attention. It's the final push. He walked past her, grabbing his coat. He didn't touch her. He didn't even look at her belly. Marcus, wait, she pleaded, a new, sharp wetness at this. I think my water just broke. Marcus Thorne stopped at the door. He turned, his face a mask of stone. Maria will be here in an hour. Have her clean it up. I'll see you in the morning. He closed the door. The click of the lock echoed in the massive, empty room. Olivia Thorne slid down the wall, clutching her stomach, and for the first time, she wasn't just in pain. She was completely, utterly alone. She fumbled for her phone, her hand shaking so badly she dropped it twice. She tried to call her doula, Maria, but it went straight to voicemail. Of course, Maria was on the subway. She tried to call her driver, but remembered Marcus had sent him to the Hamptons to prep the house for the weekend. There was no one. With a sob, she dialed 911. She gave her address, and then, in a last, desperate act of hope, a final plea for the man she had once loved, she called her husband. It went to his voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. She called a third time, and a fourth. In the back of a black Escalade, streaking toward Midtown, Marcus Thorne looked at his phone. He saw Olivia Sell flashing on the screen. He saw the 5 missed calls. With a sigh of annoyance, he tapped the screen, selecting Block Calls for 1 hour. He couldn't have distractions. Not tonight. Tonight he was going to destroy Damien Blackwood. The St. Jude's private maternity wing was a place of hushed luxury, more like a 5-star hotel than a hospital. But in Trauma Bay 3, there was only a controlled, frantic chaos. Vitals are dropping. We have a severe placental abruption. Get Dr. Sanchez now. Patient is Olivia Thorne, 36, GBS positive, 36 weeks with twins, unresponsive on arrival. Who's the husband? Where is he? No answer on his phone. We're calling his office. We don't have time. We need to do an emergency C-section, right now, or we lose the babies. And we might be losing her. 20 blocks south, in the sterile, glass-walled boardroom of Thorne Industries, Marcus Thorne was at his peak. He was a predator who had cornered his prey. Across the massive mahogany table sat Damien V. Blackwood. Damien was everything Marcus was not. Where Marcus was broad and brutish, Damien was lean and precise. He wore a simple, dark navy suit that probably cost more than Marcus's, but he wore it with an air of complete indifference. He was a decade younger, had inherited his father's company, and had, to Marcus's eternal fury, tripled its value. The offer is final, Damien, Marcus said, leaning forward, his voice a low growl. $2 billion for the energy subsidiary. It's more than it's worth. It's a charity case. Take it, or I will bleed you dry in the press, and I will take it from you in court for a fraction of that. Damien studied the man opposite him. He hadn't come here to negotiate. He had come here to look his enemy in the eye. You've been trying to get your hands on my father's company since he humiliated you in the '08 buyout, haven't you, Marcus? Damien's voice was calm, cutting. This isn't business. This is a tantrum. This is the end of the line, Marcus snarled. You're right, Damien said. He stood up, adjusting his cuffs. It is. Sit down, Marcus barked. No, I'm afraid I've wasted enough time. You see, Marcus, while you've been focused on this performance, my team has been finalizing a merger with Apex Global, the one you thought you had in the bag last quarter. The color drained from Marcus's face. As of 8 p.m., Damien continued, checking his phone. Blackwood Capital just became the majority shareholder in the single largest logistics firm in the country. Your supply chain? I own it. This subsidiary you're trying to take? He smiled, a cold, thin smile. It's no longer for sale, at any price. You didn't just lose this deal, Marcus. You've lost the war. You just don't know it yet." Marcus was speechless, his face a mottled purple. "Good evening, Marcus." Damien turned and walked toward the door. As he reached the elevator bank, his phone buzzed. He ignored it. His head of security, a stern man named Harrison, was waiting. "Sir, the car is—" "One moment," Damien said, looking at the text. It was Nax's legal team, confirming the Apex deal was closed. A wave of profound, weary relief washed over him. He had saved his father's legacy. He stepped into the private elevator, and as the doors were sliding shut, a commotion from the main lobby caught his eye. A paramedic team was wheeling a gurney with frantic speed toward the ambulance bay. It was the chaos, the type of chaos that made him press the door open button. And then he saw her. He had only seen her in photographs, at galas, standing 3 feet behind her husband. Olivia Thorne. Her face was a deathly grey, an oxygen mask fogging with each shallow breath. Her magnificent strawberry blonde hair was matted with sweat. He watched, frozen for a second. The wife of his enemy. Then, one of the paramedics shouted, "We can't get a hold of her husband. His office keeps patching us through to a line that hangs up." Damien's blood ran cold. He knew exactly where Marcus Thorne was. He was upstairs, 60 floors above his dying wife, stewing in his own defeat. Damien stepped out of the elevator. "I'm a colleague," he said to the paramedic. "I'll go with you." The paramedic, harried and stressed, just nodded. "Get in. St. Jude's. Now." Damien Blackwood, the billionaire rival, climbed into the back of the ambulance, the wail of the siren starting up. He looked at the unconscious woman on the gurney, at the 2 tiny heartbeats flickering on the portable monitor. "Hold on," he found himself whispering, not to anyone in particular. Just hold on. The ride was a blur of medical jargon and the stench of antiseptic. Damien stood in the corner of the ambulance, silent, invisible. He watched as they pumped fluids into her, as they talked about fetal distress and maternal shock. He pulled out his phone and made one call. "Harrison," he said, his voice low. "Get my personal security team to the maternity wing at St. Jude's. No, not for me, for a patient. Her name is Olivia Thorne, and find Dr. Isabella Sanchez. Tell her I'm coming in." "Sir, the wife of Marcus Thorne?" Harrison's confusion was audible. "Do it." When they burst through the ER doors, a short, dark-haired woman in scrubs met them with a force field of pure competence. This was Dr. Sanchez, the best high-risk OB-GYN in New York, and as it happened, the head of a medical foundation Damien's mother had endowed. "Damien, what in God's name is—" She stopped when she saw the patient. "Oh no. I know this patient. Olivia Thorne. Get her to OR 3, now." As they wheeled her away, Dr. Sanchez grabbed Damien's arm. "Where is her husband?" "He's not answering," Damien said, the words tasting like ash. "His office is blocking calls." "She's in hemorrhagic shock, Damien. The abruption is severe. We're going to try to save them, but I need a decision. If it comes down to it, the mother or the babies?" Damien stared at her. This was not his life. This was not his decision. He was the enemy. "You can't ask me that," he said. "There is no one else to ask. The hospital lawyers are on their way, but she doesn't have time for a lawyer. She doesn't have minutes. Who do I save?" He looked down the hall at the swinging doors she had disappeared through. He thought of Marcus in his sterile office, sacrificing his family for a deal he'd already lost. He thought of this woman, who he'd only seen as a silent accessory, now fighting for 3 lives. "You save her," Damien said, his voice raw. "You save the mother. A mother can't be replaced. You save her, and then you do everything in your power to save them too." Dr. Sanchez looked at him, a flicker of new understanding in her eyes. "Page Legal. Tell them Mr. Blackwood is assuming temporary medical advocacy." She pointed at him. "Don't you move. I'll be out when I know something." For the next 3 hours, Damien V. Blackwood sat on a cold, plastic chair in a waiting room that smelled of bleach and fear. He conducted a $40 billion merger from his phone, his voice a low monotone, while his eyes never left the surgery light. His security team, led by Harrison, had formed a discreet perimeter. They looked, for all the world, like concerned family. At 1:17 a.m. the light went off. Dr. Sanchez appeared, her mask in her hand, her face etched with a bone-deep exhaustion. "Well?" Damien said, standing up. "It was a war," she said, pulling off her surgical cap. "She lost a terrifying amount of blood. We had to do a hysterectomy to save her. She'll never have more children." Damien's stomach clenched. "But she's alive. Barely. She's in the ICU. We got the babies out. A boy and a girl. 1 pound, 8 ounces. 1 pound, 6. They're in the NICU. It's going to be a long, long road, Mr. Blackwood. They shouldn't be here for another month." Relief, so profound it was almost painful, washed through him. A boy and a girl. "We've been calling her husband's office for hours," Dr. Sanchez said, rubbing her eyes. "We finally got through to his assistant, who said Mr. Thorne was in an important meeting and could not be disturbed. Then 10 minutes ago, the line was suddenly open. He's on his way." As if on cue, the elevator doors at the end of the hall dinged open. Marcus Thorne strode out. His tie was loose, his face dark with a fury that had been simmering for hours. He was not a man coming to see his dying wife. He was a man who had just lost, and he was looking for someone to blame. He spotted Damien. His eyes narrowed. For a moment, he looked utterly confused. "Blackwood, what the hell are you doing here? Gloating?" "Your wife," Damien said, his voice dangerously level, "was just in surgery for 3 hours. She almost died." Marcus's gaze flickered to Dr. Sanchez, then back to Damien. He didn't ask if she was okay. He didn't ask about the babies. His narcissistic mind put the pieces together in the only way it knew how. You did this," Marcus whispered, his voice trembling with rage. "This was you. You leaked the Apex deal to stress her. You followed her." "Marcus, stop," Dr. Sanchez said, stepping forward. "Your wife had a severe medical emergency." "He's here," Marcus spat, pointing a shaking finger at Damien. "Why is he here? You're sleeping with my wife?" The accusation was so insane, so far from the reality of the last few hours, that Damien almost laughed, but the laugh died in his throat. "You are a pathetic creature, Marcus," Damien said, his voice low. "Your wife and your children are fighting for their lives, and you're worried about me." "My children?" Marcus finally processed the word. "Twins," Dr. Sanchez said, her voice sharp. "A boy and a girl, in the NICU. Your wife is in recovery. They are all 3 of them, in critical condition. And you," she said, jabbing a finger at his chest, "have 27 missed calls from my ER." The blood drained from Marcus's face. The reality, the liability, the optics of it finally hit him. He wasn't worried. He was exposed. I need to see her," he stammered, switching instantly into the concerned husband role. "Doctor, please. My wife. She's in recovery. You can see her when she's stable." "And the babies?" "They're in the NICU. This way." As Dr. Sanchez led him away, Marcus looked back at Damien. It was not a look of gratitude. It was a look of pure, unadulterated hatred. He had seen Damien Blackwood in his moment of weakness, at his most vulnerable. Damien knew, in that moment, that this was far from over. He had stepped into a life that was not his. He had saved the family of the man who hated him most, and he had a terrible feeling that for Olivia Thorne and her 2 tiny children, the real danger was just beginning. The next 48 hours were a fragile dance on the edge of a razor. Olivia Thorne drifted in and out of a morphine-laced fog in the ICU. She had flashes of memory, cold pavement, a siren, a kind, dark-eyed woman in scrubs, and a deep, calm voice. She assumed it was a doctor. The first person she saw clearly when she woke up was Marcus. He was sitting by her bed, his suit jacket off, his tie loosened. He was holding her hand. He looked devastated. He had been practicing the look in the mirror of the private bathroom for Anne. "Olivia, baby," he whispered, his voice cracking with manufactured relief. "You're awake. My God, you're awake." "Marcus!" Her voice was a dry rasp. "The babies. Did I lose them?" No, he said, stroking her hair. "They're here. They're small, Olivia. So small, but they're fighters, like their mother." Relief washed over her, so potent it left her weeping. "A boy and a girl," she whispered. "A boy and a girl," he confirmed. "We have a family." What happened?" she asked. I remember you left. I called you. You didn't answer." The memory was cold, sharp. Marcus's face, for a split second, hardened. But he recovered, burying his face in his hands in a brilliant piece of theatre. "Oh, God, Olivia. I'll never forgive myself. I was in that meeting, the Blackwood deal. My phone was on silent. I didn't see the calls until it was too late. When I got out, I had 27 messages from the hospital. I thought my heart would stop." He was lying. It was a subtle lie, a lie of omission. But it was a lie. He hadn't been on silent. He had blocked her. "When I got here," he continued, his voice thick, "they said you were... God, Olivia, I almost lost you. But I remember a man's voice, in the ambulance." Marcus's grip on her hand tightened. "The paramedics, honey. You were hallucinating. You were in and out. It was just me. I've been here the whole time. I haven't left this chair." Another lie. He had spent most of the last 2 days in the adjoining suite, on the phone with his legal team, trying to salvage the Apex deal, trying to find a way to sue Damien Blackwood for emotional distress. "Oh, Marcus," she wept, believing him. "I was so scared." "I know," he said, kissing her forehead. "But I'm here now. I'll take care of everything." Meanwhile, 3 floors down, in the sterile, beeping world of the neonatal intensive care unit, Damien Blackwood was standing in front of 2 tiny transparent boxes. He wasn't supposed to be here. He had no right. But Dr. Sanchez had forgotten to revoke the medical advocacy pass she had given him. "You're not supposed to be here, Mr. Blackwood," said a kind, older nurse named June. "I know," Damien said, his voice quiet. He hadn't slept. He had simply changed into a fresh suit that Harrison had brought him. "I just needed to see." "They're so tiny," Nurse June said, checking a readout. "He's baby boy Thorne, and she's baby girl Thorne. A little Adam and Eve. This one," she pointed to the boy, "he's a fighter. Grabbed my finger an hour ago. The girl, she's more fragile, but she's stubborn." Damien watched the girl, a tiny thing of wires and tubes, her skin translucent. She was, as the doctor had said, stubborn. She was fighting. "Has he been down?" Damien asked. Nurse June's face tightened. "Mr. Thorne. He came down once, stood where you are, looked at them, like they were assets. He asked," she lowered her voice, if their long-term prognosis would affect his insurance premiums. Then he took a picture on his phone and left. Damien closed his eyes. The rage he felt was so pure, so cold, it was almost clarifying. "He's lying to her," Damien said. "It's not our place, sir. He's telling her he was here, isn't he? That he saved her. She's a fragile woman, Mr. Blackwood. She's just come through a war. Maybe a kind lie is what she needs." "A lie is a lie, June," Damien said. "And a man like Marcus Thorne, his lies are weapons." He turned to leave, but as he did, the tiny hand of baby boy Thorne flinched, his finger splayed, reaching for warmth in the cold plastic box. Without thinking, Damien reached into the access port, his large, clean hand brushing the nurse's. He let the baby's fingers, no bigger than a grain of rice, curl around his index finger. A jolt, like a low-voltage electrical current, passed through him. It was a feeling he had never experienced. Not in a boardroom, not in a hostile takeover, not in his solitary, controlled life. It was connection. He looked at the baby girl, still fighting. He looked at the baby boy, who now held his hand. "Harrison," he said into his phone as he walked out, his voice hard. "I'm setting up a trust, anonymously, for the St. Jude's NICU. Fund it with $5 million. And I want round-the-clock security on Olivia Thorne's floor. Not my team. Hire a separate firm. I want them to look like hospital security. I just want eyes. I don't trust him." "Trust him to do what, sir?" "To be who he is," Damien said, and hung up. The next week was a blur for Olivia. Marcus was the perfect doting husband. He brought flowers. He curated the visitors. He sat by her bed, his laptop open, working tirelessly, while watching over his family. He was building his alibi, his narrative. "I've been thinking of names," he said one afternoon, "for the boy. Marcus Thorne, Jr. Mark, for short." Olivia, still weak, still medicated, felt a small, cold stone of resistance. I was thinking of Leo," she said. "Leo, like a lion. A bit common, isn't it?" "Leo," she repeated, a flash of her old self returning. And for her, Mila. "Leo and Mila Thorne," Marcus tested the names. "Fine. Yes. Whatever you want, my love." He had already given his PR team a statement. "CEO Marcus Thorne and wife Olivia welcome twins, Leo and Mila, after a difficult delivery. Mr. Thorne was by his wife's side throughout the ordeal." The Wall Street Journal ran a small piece, but the narrative was cracking. On the 7th day, Dr. Sanchez came to discharge Olivia. Marcus was on a very important call in the hallway. "Olivia," Dr. Sanchez said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "You're recovering well physically, but I need to talk to you about what happened." "Marcus told me," Olivia said. He was on silent. He was devastated he missed the calls. Dr. Sanchez's face was unreadable. "Olivia, I was the one in the OR. I was the one who met you at the ambulance bay. Marcus wasn't here. He didn't show up for nearly 5 hours. The man who came with you? The man who gave consent for your life-saving surgery? It wasn't your husband." Olivia stared at her. "What? What are you talking about? The paramedics?" "It wasn't a paramedic. It was Damien Blackwood." The name hit Olivia like a physical slap. "No, that's impossible. He's Marcus's enemy. Why? I don't know why, Olivia. I only know what happened. He was in the ambulance. He sat in that waiting room for 3 solid hours. And when I asked him who to save, you or the babies, he didn't hesitate." "What did he say?" Olivia whispered, her blood running cold. "He said, 'Save her. Save the mother. A mother can't be replaced.' And then he told me to save them all." The world tilted. The doting husband. The flowers. The hand-holding. He's been lying to me, she said, the words hollow, the entire time. Your husband, Dr. Sanchez said, her voice gentle but firm, showed up hours later, furious, and his first question was whether Mr. Blackwood was having an affair with you. His second was how this would look in the press. The door opened. Marcus strode in, his face bright with a false smile. All set, darling? The car is... He saw the look on Olivia's face. He saw the cold, steady gaze of Dr. Sanchez. And he knew. The lie had broken. What? Marcus said, his smile freezing. What's wrong? Olivia looked at the man she had married, the father of her children, and she saw for the first time, not a Goliath, but a small, empty, pathetic man. Get out, she whispered. What? Olivia, you're not well. You're confused. I said, she repeated, her voice gaining a strength she didn't know she possessed, a strength forged in the NICU and the ICU. Get out. Get out. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Marcus, faced with an accusation he couldn't charm or bully his way out of, reverted to his default, pure, unadulterated rage. You're going to believe her? He roared, gesturing at Dr. Sanchez. You're going to believe a doctor over your husband. And Blackwood, you're taking the word of the man who is actively trying to ruin me. He's the man who saved my life, Olivia said, her voice shaking but resolute. You blocked my calls. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. She knew. The way he flinched, a tiny, almost imperceptible muscle spasm in his jaw, told her everything. You're hysterical, he spat. The medication, the trauma, it's poisoned your mind. You are my wife. You will come home with me. No. No. He laughed, a short, ugly bark. Olivia, let's be very clear. You have nothing. The penthouse is in my name. The credit cards are in my name. The prenup you signed, the one your high-priced lawyer called ironclad. It's ironclad. You leave me, you leave with nothing. Not a cent. And you sure as hell aren't taking my children. He crossed his arms, the picture of control. You're in a hospital bed. You have no money, no home. You have 2 premature babies who will require millions in medical care. You have no choice. He was right. A wave of despair so profound it threatened to drown her washed over Olivia. He had her. He had won. She has a choice, a voice said from the doorway. All 3 of them turned. Damien V. Blackwood stood in the doorway, flanked by his head of security, Harrison. He was in a simple black t-shirt and jeans, looking less like a CEO and more like a man who had just rolled out of bed, which he had. Harrison's eyes on the floor had texted him the second the shouting had started. Blackwood, Marcus snarled. This is a private family matter. Get out. It stopped being a private matter, Damien said, his voice quiet but carrying an undeniable weight. When you left your wife to die in an ambulance. And it definitely stopped being a private matter when you threatened to take her children. He stepped into the room. He did not look at Marcus. He looked only at Olivia. Mrs. Thorne, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. My name is Damien Blackwood. I was here the other night. I'm glad to see you're recovering. Olivia could only stare. This was the man who had given the order to save her. What do you want, Blackwood? Marcus demanded. To poach my wife now, too? Is there nothing you won't try to take from me? Damien turned to Marcus, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. You're right about one thing, Marcus. She has no money. You made sure of that. But you seem to have forgotten something. I do. Damien turned back to Olivia. Mr. Harrison, here is the best security man in the business. My personal lawyers are from the firm of Kroll, Peterson and Lipton. They are, I assure you, better than yours, Marcus. There is a suite waiting for you at the Carlisle, under a private name, with a full nursing staff paid for. There is a car waiting downstairs. When you and your children are ready to leave this hospital, you will not be going to his penthouse. You will be going to a safe, secure location. He held her gaze. You don't know me, Mrs. Thorne, and you have no reason to trust me. But I know him, and I know what he's capable of. He will not harm you, and he will not take your children. I will not allow it. Olivia looked from Marcus's face, mottled with rage and disbelief, to Damien's, which was steady, calm, and offered nothing. Not pity, not affection. Just a fact. A shield. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this? Damien's eyes flickered to Marcus. Let's just say, I have a deep, abiding hatred for bullies, and I owe your husband for a lesson he taught my father a long time ago. It's time to repay the favor. You can't do this, Marcus roared, lunging forward. Harrison stepped in front of him, a mountain of quiet menace. I wouldn't, Mr. Thorne. This is kidnapping. She's my wife. Actually, Damien said, pulling out his phone, she's a patient who has just been verbally threatened by her spouse in front of her doctor, and I believe I'm still her medical proxy until she's discharged. So, as her proxy, I'm advising her to remove herself from a high-stress environment. Harrison, get Mr. Thorne out of this room. With pleasure, sir. Harrison didn't touch Marcus. He simply loomed. Marcus, for the first time in his life, was outmaneuvered. He was a bully, and his one tactic, intimidation, had just been rendered useless. You will regret this, Olivia, he screamed, backing out of the door. You will be nothing. You'll be begging me to come back, both of you. The door slammed. The silence in the room was absolute. Olivia looked at Damien. She was shaking. The Carlisle, a nursing staff. Just for now, Damien said, until you're on your feet, until the babies are strong enough. My babies, she said, a new panic rising. Leo and Mila, they're here. And they will be safe, Damien said. I've already spoken to the hospital board. I'm endowing a new neonatal wing. Their security here will be absolute. Marcus won't be able to get within 100 feet of them without your written permission. Dr. Sanchez? The doctor, who had been watching this all unfold with a look of grim satisfaction, nodded. I'll see to it personally. I have no way to pay you back, Olivia whispered, tears streaming down her face. Damien just looked at her. Get well, Mrs. Thorne, get strong, and then we'll file for divorce. He turned and left. Olivia was alone again, but for the first time in a decade, she was not lonely. She was terrified, but she was also protected. The next 3 months were a blur. Olivia moved from the hospital to the fortress-like suite at the Carlisle. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Marcus's lawyers from the firm, Shaw, Adler and Finch, fought every single thing. They tried to paint Olivia as an unfit mother, hysterical, gold-digging. And at every turn, Damien's team, led by a shark of a lawyer named Robert Grant, was there. They were quieter, more precise. While Marcus's team was leaking stories to Page 6 about Olivia's erratic behavior, Grant's team was quietly gathering evidence. They subpoenaed the phone records from the night of the birth, proving Marcus had blocked her calls. They got the testimony from the ambulance drivers. They got the security footage from Thorne Industries, showing Marcus not leaving his office for hours. But most damning of all, they found Marcus's ex-assistant, Peterson, the one he had berated on the phone. Marcus had fired him in a rage after the Blackwood deal collapsed. Peterson, it turned out, was happy to testify, under oath, that Marcus had looked at his phone, seen his wife's name, and said, "She can wait. The case was set. But Marcus, ever the narcissist, refused to settle. He demanded a trial. He was going to fight for his children. Meanwhile, in the quiet of the NICU, Olivia sat. Every day for 3 months, she sat between 2 incubators. She held Leo's tiny hand. She read poetry to Myla. And almost every evening, for a few minutes, Damien Blackwood would appear. He never stayed long. He'd ask Dr. Sanchez about the baby's progress. He'd nod at Olivia. Sometimes he'd just stand and look at the twins, his face a mask of unreadable emotion. One night, Olivia finally spoke. "They're gaining weight." "I know," Damien said. "Leo is up to 3 pounds. You've been checking on them." "Harrison gives me a report every day." They sat in silence. The only sound was the beep and hum of the machines that were keeping her children alive. "Why are you really doing this, Damien?" she asked. He watched Myla's tiny chest rise and fall. "When my father was dying, Marcus Thorne, he tried to buy our company for 10 cents on the dollar. He leaked to the press that my father was incompetent, that he'd run the company into the ground. My father spent the last 6 months of his life fighting him, and it's what killed him." He finally looked at her. "When I saw you in that ambulance, I wasn't seeing the wife of my enemy. I was seeing another victim. I didn't save my father, but I could save you." It was the most honest thing anyone had ever said to her. "Leo," she said. "His middle name. I gave him my father's middle name. Vincent." Damien's head snapped up. His eyes, for the first time, were not guarded. They were shocked. "My father's name," he said, his voice thick, "was Vincent Blackwood." Olivia stared at him. A coincidence, a sign, a thread. She didn't know what it was. "Leo Vincent Thorne," she whispered. "No," Damien said, a strange, fierce light in his eyes. "Not Thorne. Not for long. 2 years can be a lifetime." For Marcus Thorne, it was a slow, agonizing descent. The divorce trial was a public humiliation. The testimony of his assistant, the phone records, Dr. Sanchez's ice-cold deposition, it all painted a picture, not of a Goliath, but of a monster. The board of Thorne Industries, already furious about the catastrophic loss of the Apex deal, used the morality clause in his contract. He was forced out of his own company. His name was stripped from the building. He lost the penthouse. He lost his reputation. He was left with a respectable, but to him insulting, fortune of a few $100 million. A bitter man in a lonely high-rise, obsessed with what he had lost. For Olivia, it was a rebirth. She won. She won sole custody. She won a divorce settlement so large it made headlines, but she didn't touch a cent of it. She put it all in trust for Leo and Myla. Damien had, as promised, provided. He had bought a beautiful, unpretentious brownstone in the West Village under a private LLC and told her to consider it a long-term loan. He had helped her set up a foundation, the Myla and Leo Project, dedicated to providing legal and financial support for high-risk mothers in abusive or neglectful relationships. Olivia, the quiet art curator, who had been silenced for a decade, had found her voice. She was on boards. She gave speeches. She was a lioness. And Leo and Myla, they were thriving. They were 2. They were walking, talking, mischievous toddlers. Leo was a miniature version of his father. The same dark hair, the same steely blue eyes, but he had none of his coldness. He was a warm, boisterous, laughing boy. Myla was her mother's echo. She had Olivia's strawberry blonde hair and a quiet, watchful intensity. She was the stubborn one, the one who had fought for every breath. She was, as Damien called her, the little general. And Damien, Damien was just dummy. He hadn't disappeared after the trial. He hadn't demanded repayment. He had stayed. At first it was weekly visits. Just checking on my investment, he'd joke. He'd bring blocks for Leo and a soft, silk-eared rabbit for Mila. Then it was dinners. Olivia would cook, a skill she had rediscovered, and he would sit on the floor and let Leo drive a toy truck over his $2,000 shoes. Then it became life. He had his own key. He was there for their first steps, Leo's, and their first word, Mila's, which was no. He was the one who taught Leo to throw a ball. He was the one who patiently read the same picture book to Mila, Goodnight Moon, 7 times in a row, because she demanded it. He and Olivia, it was slow. It wasn't a romance born of fire and passion. It was born of shared trauma, late-night coffee in the NICU, and a quiet, mutual respect. It was built on the foundation of 2 tiny, giggling children. They never discussed what they were. They just were. One night, Olivia came down after putting the twins to bed. Damien was in the living room, asleep on the sofa, his laptop open on his chest, a half-finished earnings report on the screen. Leo's stuffed bear was tucked under his arm. Olivia stood there, just watching him. This man, this billionaire enemy, who had become, in every way that mattered, her hero. He was the father of her children, not by blood, but by choice, by action. She gently took the laptop off his chest and put it on the table. She covered him with a blanket. He stirred, his eyes opening, still fogged with sleep. "Liv?" he mumbled. "Go back to sleep, dummy," she whispered, brushing his hair off his forehead. He grabbed her hand, his grip still strong, even in sleep. "Stay," he murmured, and she did. She sat on the floor, leaning against the sofa, his hand holding hers, and for the first he felt, in her entire adult life, completely and totally safe. The idyll, of course, could not last. The lawsuit came on a Tuesday. It was delivered by a smug process server. Marcus Thorne versus Olivia Thorne. He was suing for full, unadjudicated custody of Leo Vincent Thorne and Mila, no middle name, Thorne. Olivia's blood ran cold. He can't. The court order. He lost. Robert Grant, the lawyer Damien kept on retainer for her, was in her living room within an hour. His face was grim. "He's not claiming you're unfit, Olivia. He's claiming Damien is." "What?" "The petition alleges that you are cohabitating with a man of unstable and dangerous character. He's painting Damien as a ruthless corporate raider with known volatile tendencies. He's claiming that Damien's presence is a direct and immediate threat to the physical and emotional well-being of the children." "That's insane," Olivia said. "Damien has never been anything but gentle. In business, he's a shark, Olivia. And Marcus has found 2 former employees who are willing to testify, for a price, I'm sure, that Damien has a violent temper. He's also, this is the bad part, he's claiming parental alienation. He's saying you and Damien have conspired to erase him as the father, and that Damien is grooming the children to accept him as a replacement. The most sickening part? Marcus wasn't doing this because he wanted the children. He was doing this because he couldn't stand that Damien had them. They were, to him, just 2 more assets his enemy had stolen. "He's going to put the children on the stand?" she whispered, horrified. "He'll never get that far. But he's demanding a psychological evaluation for Damien and for you, and he's petitioning for immediate, supervised visitation." When Damien got home that night, he didn't find the usual chaotic, happy greeting. He found Olivia in the living room, in the dark, the legal papers clutched in her hand. He read them. He read them twice. His face, which was usually so calm, so controlled, became something Olivia had never seen. It wasn't rage. It was a cold, pure, terrifying focus. "Harrison," he said into his phone, "buy me the firm of Shaw, Adler and Finch. I don't care what it costs. I want every client, every partner, every file. I want to own the pens on their desks by morning." "Damien, no," Olivia said, standing up. You can't fight him like this. Not like he fights. He wants you to be the monster. Don't become him." He hung up the phone. He looked at her. "What do you want me to do, Liv? He's coming for the children." "I want you to fight," she said, grabbing his suit jacket. "But I want you to fight like you, not like him. He's using the dark. He's using lies. We have to use the truth. The truth is our shield. It's all we've ever had." Damien looked at her, at the fire in her eyes, the fire he had helped to reignite. He put his hands on her arms. "All right," he said. "The truth. But my version of the truth is complicated. It's not pretty. He wants to dig up my past. Fine, let's dig." The courtroom was a hushed, sterile box. Judge Elizabeth Marks, a woman with a reputation for sniffing out deceit, presided. Marcus was there, looking diminished, his new lawyer, Mr. Finch, radiating insecurity. On the other side sat Olivia, poised in a simple dark dress, with Damien beside her, an immaculate, silent statue of support. Marcus's lawyer went first, painting a picture of Damien Blackwood as a corporate monster. "He is a ruthless figure," Finch argued, "who has systematically usurped the paternal role. He is erasing my client." He presented photos, taken by a private investigator, as his proof. Damien with Leo on his shoulders at the zoo. Damien and Olivia, watching the twins learn to ride tricycles. "He's playing daddy, Your Honor," Finch declared. "He has infiltrated this family." Judge Marks looked at the photos over her glasses. "And Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice cutting. "What role are you playing? My records show you have missed 14 of your 20 allotted supervised visitations." It was difficult," Marcus stammered, "to see him there." "I see," the judge said, her voice dripping ice. "Mr. Grant, your response?" "Just one witness, Your Honor," Robert Grant said. "We call Olivia Rowland." Olivia took the stand. When Grant asked her to describe her relationship with Damien, she spoke, her voice clear and strong. "He's my partner," Olivia said. "And his relationship with your children? He's their father." The room erupted. "Objection!" Finch shouted. "This is the very alienation where—" "Sit down, Mr. Finch," the judge snapped. "She's answering the question. Please explain, Miss Rowland. Biologically, Mr. Thorne is their father." Olivia looked, for the first time, directly at Marcus. "Biology," she said, her voice resonating with a strength that pinned him to his chair, "is an accident. It's a technicality. Fatherhood is a choice. It's a job. It's a verb." She turned to the judge. "Their biological father blocked my calls while I was hemorrhaging. He didn't see his children in the NICU for 24 hours, and when he did, he asked about his insurance premiums. He has missed 14 visits because it's difficult for him." She pointed to Damien. "That man," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "sat in a waiting room for a woman he'd never met and gave the order to save me. That man has been to every doctor's appointment. He knows Leo is allergic to peanuts and that Mila will not sleep without her bun. He has been there, not for photo ops, but for the 2 a.m. fevers and the night terrors. He didn't usurp anything, Your Honor. He showed up. He did the job that this man abandoned. He is their daddy. By action, by love, by choice. My children are not alienated. They are loved. Marcus Thorne is their donor. Damien Blackwood is their father, and that is the truth. The silence was absolute. Judge Marks looked at Olivia, then at the deflated, broken man that was Marcus Thorne. "Petition," the judge declared, her voice final. "Emphatically denied. Mr. Thorne, your visitation rights are suspended. We are done here." That night, Damien found Olivia on the roof deck of their brownstone, looking out at the city. "You were incredible," he said, wrapping his arms around her. "I just told the truth," she whispered. "It's all we have." "Olivia," he said, turning her to face him. "I've been thinking. The children, they're Roland's. You're a Roland. I feel left out." "Dummy what?" He got down on one knee. "You and Leo and Mila, you saved me. I was an empty suit, a legacy. I had everything and I had nothing. You gave me a home." He pulled out a small, simple velvet box. "I don't want to be your hero, Liv. I just want to be your husband. I want to be their father. Legally, on paper, in every way that matters to the world. Because you are already my world. Olivia Roland, will you marry me? Will you and Leo and Mila? Will you all be Blackwoods?" Her yes was lost in a kiss that sealed a vow made not in a church, but in the trauma bay of a hospital, in a sterile NICU, and in the battlefield of a courtroom. It was their truth. It was their beginning. In the end, Marcus Thorne wasn't a villain. He was just a ghost, haunting a life he'd willingly thrown away. The real story wasn't his downfall. It was the story of Olivia, a woman who found her raw. It was the story of Leo and Mila, two tiny fighters who proved that a family isn't about the blood you share, but about the people who show up. And most of all, it was the story of Damien, the man who proved that a hero isn't the one who wins the fight. He's the one who makes the impossible choice to save the mother. What do you think? Was Damien a hero, or did he just see an opportunity? Was Olivia's revenge on Marcus complete? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear a story of survival. And most importantly, hit subscribe and turn on all notifications. We have so many more stories to tell, and you won't want to miss a single one.